So guys, we're going to be in Luke chapter 14. And we're going to talk tonight about what does it cost to be a disciple of Jesus. Because we know that when we become a disciple of Jesus, something should happen in your life. What should happen?
You should completely change, and you should just follow Jesus, and whatever he does, you have to do also.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Right on the money. Your life should totally change. Everything about your life should be different. Okay? Everything about the way that you live and treat people and act. Everything should be totally different. Everything on the inside and on the outside. So that doesn't just happen without there being consequences, right? We know that changes equal consequences. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit tonight. What does it cost to be a disciple of Christ? What are the consequences of being a disciple? Okay, so we're in Luke chapter 14, and it'd be awesome if somebody could read out for me verses 25 to 32. 25 to 32. Go for it. Nice and loud for the group.
Large crowds were traveling with Jesus. He turned and spoke to them. He said, "Anyone who comes to me must hate his father and mother. He must hate his wife and children. He must hate his brothers and sisters. He must even hate his own life. Unless he does, he cannot be my disciple. Anyone who does not carry his cross and follow me can't be my disciple. Suppose someone wants to build a tower. Won't he sit down first and figure out how much it will cost? Then he will see whether he has enough money to finish it. Suppose he has started building and is not able to finish. Then everyone who sees that what he has done will laugh at him. They will say, 'This fellow started to build, but he wasn't able to finish.' Suppose a king is about to go to war against another king, and suppose he has 10,000 men, while the other one has 20,000 coming out against him. Won't he first sit down and think about whether he can win? And suppose he decides he can't win, and then he will send some men to ask how peace can be made. He will do this while the other king is still far away. At the same time, you must give up everything you have. If you don't, you can't be my disciple. Salt is good, but suppose it loses its saltiness. How could it be made salty again? For it's not good for the soil. It's not good for the trash pile. It'll be thrown out. Those who have ears should listen."
Awesome. Thank you. You're good. So, a lot of stuff Jesus is unpacking here. A lot of ideas coming our way. What is the first thing that jumps out to you? Because there's something, when I read this passage, that Jesus says, and I'm like, whoa, what?
It's about like war.
Huh?
Stuff about war.
He's talking about war. That's one thing, right? Well, what jumps out right away? Yeah, absolutely. That to me, I read this and I was like, whoa, Jesus is saying I should hate people? Didn't Jesus say, like, I should honor my parents, and now he's saying I should hate my parents, and like my wife and my kids and my brothers, right? I should hate all these people? What is he talking about? So what do you guys think? What is Jesus trying to say? What does he mean? Not trying to say, he is saying it. What does Jesus mean when he says we should hate our father and mother and the people in our lives? What do you think?
Like, you should be willing to do everything else, even if it's something you really to follow them.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. You're right on. What else, guys? What are some other ideas? What does Jesus mean when he says hate?
I think like going along with what Hannah said, like you should be like not you don't have to necessarily like, hate them, but you should be willing to hate them in order to follow Jesus. Willing to be like whatever Jesus says.
Willing to hate them. Interesting. Okay. Any other thoughts out there when Jesus is saying this? Because I mean, this threw me off at first, for sure. Okay. But yeah, I think you guys are right on. What Jesus is saying is that he doesn't want us to go home and be like, "Dad, I hate you." Okay, I don't want to do what you say anymore. No, that's not what Jesus is getting at. What Jesus is saying is we must be willing to put our relationship with Jesus above every other relationship in our lives, including our family. And now that's something that's really easy to hear in the Bible and really, really hard to put into practice. If you guys have ever had a family member who's not walking with God, and maybe they're trying to, or they have tried to get you to do something that you know you shouldn't do, it can be really, really tough to say no to your family, to put those barriers up. But what he's saying is if someone in your family is preventing you from following Christ, we have to choose Christ anyway. He comes first, even over our family, even over our father and mother. Okay, we're supposed to honor our parents, right? That's a big thing for you guys right now. It's a big thing for everybody. It's a big thing for me. And it's not always easy, right, to honor our parents. And this is not saying we no longer honor our parents. Okay, this isn't like a way out. of that. What he's saying is we honor Christ first. So parents come second to what the Bible says. Okay, that's kind of it might be kind of a scary thing to hear, but it's definitely true. Okay, so the idea is that we must be willing to sacrifice things that we love in order to be a disciple. Okay, and we're gonna talk more about that idea. So let's go back and read again verses 27 and 28. Can I get somebody else to read 27 and 28 again? Lucas, nice and loud.
And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it?
Yeah, so some really ideas here that make it easier to understand. When Jesus is saying, whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me, cannot be my disciple. What I always think about is, how many of you like have a cross necklace or like a cross bracelet or cross like earrings or like, you know, the cross to us, we think of that as a good thing, right? Like I used to wear a cross necklace. You know, I know people who have cross tattoos. We think of the cross as like this is a symbol of joy and peace and happiness. But what you have to keep in mind, guys, is when Jesus said this to the disciples, what they were thinking of was like a torturous death, like a horrific, torturous death. This is not a very pleasant idea to them at all. This is a little bit more than just life might get tough if you follow me, or you might run into some roadblocks. This is more than that. Jesus is literally saying to them, you guys have to be ready to die, and not just die, but die a really, really rough death. Okay, so it's kind of a big idea for them. It's very intimidating and scary, and it's understandable that so many people had a hard time doing that with Jesus. And if you guys remember, when Jesus is being crucified, the disciples all ran away, right? So let's go over verse 28. For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? This makes sense, you know. If you guys have ever built, like, anybody use Legos, played Legos? Yeah, dude, it was so much fun. And what my problem was when I was a kid, I would like try to build a castle, and I would way overshoot it, and I would have like a really, really big foundation, and then I would run out of bricks, and I couldn't build the rest of the castle. Totally dumb, right? I know. And it was a huge fail. And that's the idea that Jesus is saying. You have to plan things out. You have to understand what you're trying to do and what it's going to cost. Okay, if you don't have the Lego bricks, don't try to build the Lego castle. Okay. Let's see if this example makes it a little bit more clear. Okay, so does anybody know who that is?
Batman.
Batman, yes.
Iron Man.
Get out.
Spider-Man.
So this is Spider-Man.
My favorite.
Do you have a question? Do you not know who that is?
I just know he does whatever a spider can.
That's true. He does. It's in his bio. So Spider-Man. Everybody familiar with the story of Spider-Man? The general story.
Yes.
No.
Okay, so he's bitten by a radioactive spider. The spider gives him superpowers. Okay.
Oh.
Then his uncle is killed, and he's shot by a thug, right? But the thing is, Spider-Man had the chance to stop this thug from getting away, but he chose not to. So his uncle died, and he has all this guilt because his uncle died. And it's Uncle Ben. It's very sad. And so Uncle Ben's dying words to Peter are, with great power comes what?
Great responsibility.
Great responsibility. The classic Spider-Man line. Everybody should know it. With great power comes great responsibility. That's the setup. This is Peter Parker, Spider-Man's life, okay? He has superpowers. He can do all these amazing things. And he's been given this charge by his uncle who died. Okay, with great power comes great responsibility. What he's saying is, you have the ability to make a difference in the world. And it's your job to do so because you have that ability, right? So, as Spider-Man has all these different powers, he's learning it, he's in high school, he's going through his life, he makes a choice, okay? So here's my question for you guys, and I want to see if you can answer it. What do you think? Why does Spider-Man wear a mask?
So no one like knows who he is.
So nobody knows who he is, hide his identity, right? Why else? Why does Spider-Man wear a mask? What do you think?
Because he's doing good things, but like in the background. He doesn't want the attention.
Okay, he doesn't want attention, maybe?
Also, he doesn't want the bad guys chasing him.
He doesn't want bad guys tracing him. Okay, that's good. What else? What do you think, Colin?
The bad guys track his family.
Oh, the bad guys track his family. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Colin. That's where I kind of go with it. If you guys have read a lot of comics, like I have, maybe you get the sense a little bit in the movies, but I think it's better explained in the comics. Spider-Man wears a mask because he knows what will happen if people find out who he is, if the bad guys find out who he is. If you've seen Spider-Man 2, excuse the Fandango logo in the corner, when Dr. Octopus finds out who Peter Parker really is, what happens? First thing he does,
Grabs his grandma.
grabs Aunt May. Okay, he immediately goes after his family. Spider-Man knows that if people know who he's a superhero, they know his true identity, then the bad guys are going to go after his family. It's going to start to cost him things. It's going to start to take away from things that he cares about in his life. So the reason that Spider-Man wears a mask is because he knows what it costs to be a superhero, and he's not willing to pay that price. Okay? So think about that. Peter knows that his family would not be safe if the villains knew who he was. And I gotta say, guys, I love Spider-Man. I think he's really cool. He's great in the movies. He's great in the comics. But that's not what true discipleship looks like. True discipleship is not putting on a mask so that I don't have to face the consequences of who I am. Okay? True discipleship is taking off the mask and being willing to lose whatever it takes in order to follow Jesus. Does that make sense? Being willing to lose whatever it takes in order to follow Jesus. So what does that look like for us, guys? What does it look like to take off the mask in your life? What do you think, Noah?
Maybe spread the gospel with your friends, or I don't know, just talk about it, because like at random times just start talking about it when it's
Yeah, kind of like be bold with your faith, with your friends who are unsaved, right? It kind of feels like sometimes, I can remember when I was in school, it was a little bit different for me, but even the first couple years of college, it felt like I was wearing a mask. Like I didn't want people to know that I was a follower of Jesus. When you go into a secular college or a secular school or whatever, you don't want people to know that you're a Christian, because what starts to happen as soon as people find out you're a Christian?
Make fun.
They make fun of you. They don't respect you. They laugh at you. Professors, I had a professor give me a bad grade on a paper because I used the Bible on my paper. It's like, as soon as people find out, I start to lose things. It starts to be a cost, right? So I felt like I had a mask on a lot of times in school. So be honest with who you are in school. It doesn't matter if a professor gives you a bad grade. It doesn't matter if your friends start to make fun of you and you lose friends even. What else? How can we take off that mask in our lives? What are some other areas? Colin, what do you think?
Like, if you go to a public school, like, don't, like, take off that mask. Like, you're acting around people, like, that you're, like, acting like them. Act like a Christian.
Yeah.
Around them.
That's another huge temptation. When the people around you, you have that mask on, you don't really want to get made fun of, you don't want to seem different, right? It's easy to kind of start to do things you shouldn't do, say things you shouldn't say. Friends swear a little bit, so maybe I'll swear a little bit, just so I blend in, just so I seem like one of the guys, right? Don't want to rock the boat. Don't want people to start to make fun of me for who I really am on the inside. Yeah, totally, Colin. What else, guys? Any other areas? What do you think, Hannah?
Like, even if you're Christian, if you know your friends are gonna make fun of you, you can pray about, like, pray for God to help you, like, to be bold, not to be scared to spread the gospel.
Yeah, boldness, absolutely. How about giving things up that we want? You guys think of anything that you want to do that you know doesn't really honor God? You have to give it up. What about, like, is there a movie you want to watch that you know has stuff in it that you shouldn't be watching? Or a TV show, or music that you would like to listen to? It has a really good beat. The guy's a really good singer, but he talks about all these things that just aren't honoring to God. I know I really shouldn't listen to that. Anything like that in your lives, guys? Maybe it's books that you want to read, or games, or things that we consume that we know aren't honoring to God. Guys, we're called to give those things up. We're called to put those things down in order to follow Jesus. Okay? And another thing that we don't really think about too much, because we are totally blessed to be living in America, is that this verse can be taken very, very literally for people who live in other parts of the world. People are literally giving up their lives. They could be killed for being a Christian. And they're willing to do it anyway. They're willing to lay down their lives, literally, for Jesus, to be disciples of Christ. That's something that we don't have to think about here, which is a blessing because we're not under that kind of persecution. But in other parts of the world, for our real life brothers and sisters in Christ, that is a thing that absolutely happens. Okay. So guys, we're going to do something a little bit different for our recap time tonight. If we have time at the end, maybe we'll go over the normal questions. But for now, what I want you to do is we're going to go over these last 2 points, and then I want you to partner up with somebody after we're done this. So be thinking about that, okay? So we're talking about living like Jesus. Oh, those are the answers, by the way.
Okay. Thanks.
Living like Jesus. So here's what I want you guys to do with your partner. Take inventory of the things in your life that you have a hard time giving up for Jesus, okay? Think about your life. Think about different things that Jesus might ask you to give up. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a movie that you like that you know you shouldn't watch. It could be tough relationships in your life. It could be your reputation at school. It could be grades. Whatever it could be.